Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to be talking about should Monster Reborn come back into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now Monster Reborn has been banned for quite some time. I think it's been on the ban list since, I want to say 2013. I believe maybe it got hit in the early part of the year, because I know Judgment got hit earlier that year. I think it was late 2012. My mind deceives me, but it got hit over 3 years ago, 4 years ago almost, I think it did. And people were kind of, even at that time that Monster Reborn got banned, were kind of like, is it really need to be banned? I mean, there was this talk in the community, like, some people were like, yes, it needs to be banned. Some people were going back then, I remember thinking about, like, does it really need to be banned? You know, and we thought it was going to come back shortly. Because if you guys know anything about the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you've been around for any amount of time, for at least 6 years or so, you will notice something that has always happened. Monster Reborn and Heavy Storm always do this song and dance in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! What will happen is, they'll become unbanned for maybe a year or two, and then Konami will go back ahead and ban them. For the longest time, in the mid-2000s all the way up to 2013, this happened. Monster Reborn would become unbanned, Heavy Storm would become unbanned, and then they would go back on the ban list. It kept going back and forth, just depending upon what Konami wanted to do with it. So, I wanted to get a gauge of what people thought of Monster Reborn. Should it come back, actually, at all? And so I did a poll on YouTube for you guys, and a lot of you guys chimed in. We had 301 votes for this poll, and we had 77% of you guys said yes, Monster Reborn should come back. 23, so almost a quarter of you guys said Monster Reborn should not come back. So that's still a large amount of people, I feel like, that feel that Monster Reborn shouldn't come back, because that's only a quarter of people out of 300 that said Monster Reborn shouldn't come back. And there was different reasons. Some people believing that it's very powerful still. Other people believing that it should come back because there's other cards that are just as powerful as it, and things of this nature. And we're going to look at both sides of the coin in this video today. The reasons why Monster Reborn could come back, and some of the signs that maybe Konami is going to bring it back, and some of the signs that maybe Monster Reborn shouldn't come back, I guess you could say. So we're going to try to play devil's advocate on both parts and go back and forth. So let's go with the downside of Monster Reborn coming back, actually. So Monster Reborn is a very powerful card, no matter what you think. You special summon one monster from your graveyard. That's good in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! You can't spin that any way, unless you are a link-based, excuse me, not even a link-based deck, a pendulum-based deck, excuse me. Monster Reborn may not be good in your build, but every other deck out there, pretty much Monster Reborn is a good one-of in the deck, no matter what. It's a great, the bad thing about it is it's a good top deck. So you can easily, and I know this has happened to many players over the year, and that's why people don't like Monster Reborn. And I kept getting comments about this happening to people. They didn't want Monster Reborn back because it was a sacky card. What do I mean by that? You top deck it, you're losing the game, and you win and beat your opponent. People didn't like that because it was a sack card. And I feel that is an honest thing about Monster Reborn. I can't tell you how many times I've played GOAT format, or formats where Monster Reborn is legal, and Monster Reborn just, I'm in a losing position, and Monster Reborn just helps me bring back, you know, my Lackluster Soldier, and then attack for game, or just stupid little things here and there that just, you know, shouldn't happen, or it starts me off on a combo play because I get to revive a card from graveyard. And the worst offender of this, I believe it is when you have, because I think it was legal, I haven't looked at my deck in a while, but in Dad Return, because you could bring Elemental Hero Disc Commander back, Reborn, draw 2 cards, tribute for Caius, or whatever you wanted to, and then attack. So you see how it could start one card combo plays and create comebacks, which it's always done in the anime forever. I mean, Monster Reborn was a staple in just about everybody's deck, including Pot of Greed. But pretty much, I feel like that a lot of these things people feel like are just looking with maybe possibly looking back with hindsight and saying, well, it was a really sacky card. What could it do in today's game because the game is so fast and all these things. So I understand the sack factor. I understand that's a very powerful card. I understand it's a good top deck. And I understand these are reasons why it should not come back. So those are my 3 main reasons why I feel like it shouldn't come back, personally. Now, let's look on the other side of the coin now. Reasons why Monster Reborn should come back, all right? Number 1, and the most thing I hear often is, we have Soul Charge, and Soul Charge is more broken than Monster Reborn. There's 2 ways you could spin that. A, I actually agree with this camp, and I'm going to say I'm biased towards it because I actually agree with that statement. Soul Charge. I pay whatever life points I want, which, as we guys should know in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh!, life points are expendable as long as you have 1 life point left. You can still win the game. I'm not just saying that because that's a Yu-Gi thing or whatever, but it's true. I mean, that's why Solemn Judgment was such a good card for so long. You could be down to 50 life points, and Solemn Judgment will still be alive for you. So it doesn't matter how low you get. If you're in a winning position, or you are still winning the duel, or you're about to win, it doesn't matter how many life points you have left. It matters if you win or lose. Life points don't matter at the end of the day unless you're deciding who wins or loses, excuse me. So, saying that, and if you look in the context of that mentality, Soul Charge is way broken than Monster Reborn, which, as time has gone on, people have always said that. Why is Monster Reborn banned if we have Soul Charge? And Soul Charge is just as broken as Monster Reborn. Yes, I cannot conduct my battle phase. I have to pay life points. The downsides of Soul Charge. But I could technically summon up to 5 monsters and make an unbreakable board, and right then and there, seal the deal and win the duel. Because on my next turn, my opponent can't do anything. They may not have a lot of resources left. It's a Soul Charge can just be as an amazing top deck as Monster Reborn can, believe me. So saying that, I get that connotation. One thing I did forget to mention that people say Monster Reborn shouldn't be brought back as well. And the difference between Soul Charge and Monster Reborn is Monster Reborn, one of the reasons people don't want it back is because I can go in my opponent's graveyard and reborn a monster from their graveyard to do things with. The same mentality for people that want Monster Reborn back is that really doesn't matter in 2017. Monster Reborn back in the day, and I will admit this is very true. Monster Reborn back in the day when we had more generic decks, and what I mean by that is a lot of good standalone monster cards, your BLSs, your DD Warrior Ladies, your Donzalukes, your Sangans, Witch of the Black Forests, whatever the case may be. Decks back then were cookie cutter and more generic. They had generic cards that are good no matter what, and any deck can use them. Makes sense what I'm trying to say? Like Witch of the Black Forest effect is good in any deck, really. You know, back in 2005, 2006, 2007. In 2017, all right, if I'm playing Mermails, all right, for example, and my opponent is playing, I don't know, Spirals or whatever, all right? And they're playing Spirals. What's it gonna matter if I have to reborn like something from a Spiral graveyard when they're not running any generic cards? What's the point of that? That's not going to help me reborning any of their Spiral cards for a Mermail deck. This has happened because archetypes are more of a thing in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And thus, Monster Reborn's effect of reborning cards from the graveyard is not as prevalent as it used to be. It's not as powerful as it used to be. I will admit that is true, but there is an instance where it is still powerful, and that is in the mirror match. That effect to reborn cards from the graveyard, if you're in a mirror match situation, you know, if I'm, I don't know, Monarchs versus Monarchs, or Spirals versus Spirals, or whatever the case may be, necessarily speaking, it does pay off because it's a mirror match, and his cards in his graveyard and in the end of the day, help me out with the second effect of Monster Reborn, from having the option to reborn from my opponent's graveyard. In that instance, Monster Reborn is still broken in the mirror match, but for a lot of other generic just duels in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! That happen at most tournaments, that's not going to be the case anymore. I can't reborn BLSs. I can't do that. Now, if people are throwing that in their decks, yes, it can still happen and still be very sacky in that aspect. If I'm playing against a light and dark base deck and they've teched in BLS and I destroy it and then I reborn it, that happens. That's going to still happen because there's still generic cards that are played in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! In 2017, and there are still tech cards being tried out. So that can still happen, but I don't think it's as prevalent as it used to be 5, 6, 7 years ago. The other reason people feel like Monster Reborn could come back is because Soul Charge is powerful, like I said. The second effect is not as generic as people think it is. And the last thing is the fact that Konami is reprinting Monster Reborn. If you guys have not heard about this, Konami is printing the OCG artwork of Monster Reborn for, I think it is in this summer, like in a couple months they're going to be reprinting it. So if you go to an OTS store, you pay $30 to buy Yu-Gi-Oh! Product, you can turn around and you'll get a free pack of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards with alternative artworks for Exodia, Monster Reborn, and there's one more card that I forget. But you're able to purchase these cards. Now, there's two reasons Konami could be doing this. A, they're planning to bring back Monster Reborn into the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Or B, they're just doing it for whatever reason. Don't forget that last year in the Battles of Legend, they reprinted Exciton Knight and didn't unban Exciton Knight. So it could mean, we don't know what it means yet. But I think it is a good discussion to have with friends and people about should Monster Reborn come back or could it not come back. The last reason I'll mention that people feel that Monster Reborn could come back is if you've been paying attention in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Recently, in the set that we're getting in April or May, I believe it is, we're getting more Monster Reborn-esque cards in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually. They have their own Monster Reborn for Lynx, World Chalice does, and other decks we have the other Monster Reborn-esque card that's okay. But you start to notice that there's a lot more Monster Reborn-esque cards around the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And you think about it for a second, and then you think Soul Charge. And I can understand how there's like two different camps of thoughts, where one person's like, yeah, Monster Reborn could come back because of these reasons. No, it shouldn't come back because of these reasons. I think right now it's in a middle ground. I feel like it would do no harm to do what they did with Snatch and Steal. The same way they use Monster Reborn the same way. And what I mean by that is unban Monster Reborn as a one-of for a format. If it does too much, you can just put it back on the ban list. They did that with Snatch and Steal. They tried it out, and ever since that backfired on them, I felt that they have just not gone back to just tinkering around with cards that are kind of on that fence of like, it could come back, it couldn't come back. Monster Reborn, either way, if it did come back, would still be a powerful card. But I'm of the mindset as well, I should mention, that we shouldn't just let cards rot on the ban list until they're utterly useless. Let us not forget Magician of Faith, Tsukiyomi, and a half a dozen other cards out there that were on the ban list forever, but when they came off, they did nothing at all. So, saying that, Monster Reborn should come back, should come back, even though I think throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history that card will forever be good. But I think Konami's about to rotate in Monster Reborn. That's just my thoughts at the end of the day. But we'll have to wait and see what Konami does at the end of the day. But tell me your thoughts down below, guys, of what you think. Do you think Monster Reborn should come back, or should it not come back? And tell me your reasons why. And I'll see you guys till next time. And until next time, guys, take care. Have fun dueling. Good luck dueling. And I'll see all of you guys next time. Take care, everybody.